And with that, Eric Mangini, who, of course, got a lot of rings in New England, is now joining us. So yesterday we talked about something in the draft. There's two ways to go about it if you're New England. Fix this roster, trade down, because any quarterback that comes in is going to get overwhelmed. The third quarterback in this draft is not going to be Josh Allen Mahomes, where you can win with average players. Trade down, fix your roster. You're slow offensively. You don't have playmakers defensively. Then go to the free agent market next year with a quarterback or go draft a quarterback. But nobody's going to win with this lack of talent offensively. And your third quarterback, Jaden Daniels, little spindly, cold weather. Or just draft a quarterback, get it solved, play Jacoby Brissett most of the year, be awful, and just cross your fingers it works. Do they necessarily, in your opinion, have to draft a quarterback with that third pick?
Unless you have a real conviction at that third pick, I don't think you draft a guy. I think you try to trade back and maybe get someone later, because with those top 5 picks, it's not just it's the pressure that comes with it. It's the pressure to start right away. It's the pressure to perform right away. It's a lot for a young guy, and unless you really believe that guy can come in there and do that at a reasonable enough level, then it doesn't make sense, and you should go ahead and trade back and try to continue to build the team. I just don't know if New England, the fan base, the owner, if they're going to be patient enough to do that. That was sort of a trademark of Bill's philosophy. I don't know if this is going to be a trademark or if they have the patience to do that. And look, if Jaden Daniels is there to me at 3, I would take Jaden Daniels. I really like him.
Okay, you like Jaden Daniels at 3. That's the guy you really like.
I really like him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Drake May has bumped up, but I watched Jaden Daniels, and I liked him more in the first half against Alabama than I did in the 3 games I watched, with Drake May. I just think that made a ton of wild plays. He's 6'4". I know he's 210, so he's a little bit light, but he's going to grow into that body. And then his ability when he pulls the ball down, I know he hasn't run a 40, but it's fast. Whatever that number is, it's fast. Depending on what type of guy he is, that's a big part of it. But from a talent perspective, I thought he was outstanding.
So yesterday, DraftKings, or the day before, came out with over-under numbers, and I was a little taken back. The Bears were at 8.5, and I think a lot of it is Ryan Poles has had a very good 6 to 8 months. The Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift can catch, Gerald Everett. They've got 2 of everything, running backs, tight ends. I do think Poles, a former offensive lineman, I think the offensive line, left tackle, I think they have their tackles figured out. And do you think 8.5, 9 wins is ambitious? Or do you think if you start looking at this personnel, Caleb can win in this division?
Yeah, I think the Bears are one of the most exciting teams going into next season. Now, Caleb comes in, he's a guy that is so much further ahead than where Justin Fields was even 3 years into the league as a passer. And he can make wild plays. He can make dynamic plays. The thing with him is trying to reel him in a little bit to not make a bunch of mistakes. But you've got, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. There's a ton of talent. And then I thought with Eberflus taking over the defense later in the year, they played so much better defensively than they did at the beginning of the season. Yes. This team should be in the mix, depending, again, on how much Caleb can control sort of his ability, not his ability, but his desire to constantly want to make plays. I think that's going to have to be reeled in a little bit so that he's not making a bunch of wild plays for the other team.
Yeah. I said, when you get an old quarterback, there is a pretty clear indication. Stafford to the Rams had a good offensive line. Brady to the Bucs, they drafted Tristan Wirfs, they had a good offensive line. When Aaron went to the Jets, an older quarterback, they have a bad offensive line. By the way, Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta makes sense. They have a very good offensive line. So the Jets have now tried to, it's older players, but it's from Baltimore and Dallas. Those have been very good high-end offensive lines. I think there's a real clear line. Old quarterback, Russell Wilson in Denver's first year, not a good offensive line. First thing Sean Payton did is fix that. I don't see these moves as some magic elixir to Aaron. I think they'll be better, but Tyron Smith's going to give you about 13 games. Your kind of takeaway on what they've done this offseason up front to protect Aaron?
Well, in the opening press conference, the GM's opening press conference in New York, he talked about the need to fix the offensive line. So that's what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So here we are 5 years later, and it's not fixed. So they put money into the offensive line in the past. They put draft picks into the offensive line. It's a question of whether or not they've got the right guys and how they've changed their process of evaluating who fits and who works, because the process they've had up to this point hasn't been very good at all. And then you take guys that have been dinged up, whether, with Tyron Smith, and even Mike Williams, he's coming off an injury. The Jets are confusing because there are some positive things and there are some exciting things from a fan perspective for them. But then the owner comes out the other day and says, we may keep Zach Wilson. And Colin, we could see a situation if they keep Zach where he plays again next season. I think they'll be rioting in the streets of New York if that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, but it blew me away that they were even talking about that being a possibility. And if you're a Jets fan, you got to be a little bit taken aback by that. And why? Why would you do it?
So Jim Harbaugh well. San Francisco was a mess, and then immediately they're in the NFC Championship. Michigan was a mess, and then they're immediately 10-3. Jim is so unique. He's talking about sleeping in a motor coach. He's like, it's perfect. I can go back there and sit back there and think. And it's like, I just think this whole J.J. McCarthy thing where he's like, that's the best quarterback in college. Well, he wants a quarterback derby at the top so he can move down at 5 and get more picks. I know what Jim wants to do. And I do think this is a really good job for a lot of reasons. He's got his quarterback, left tackle, and 2 edge rushers. Those are really crucial things and hard things to find in the draft. What to you is real? Let's start with 2 questions on Jim. First of all, what is realistic first year with the Chargers? What's realistic?
Well, Jim comes in and with all the underachieving that's gone on there for multiple years, he instantly changes that equation. Okay, it's not only does he change it by virtue of he's won everywhere he's been, but the mindset, the approach that he has, it's completely sincere. He sincerely believes that they can win. They can win right now. The guys that he has can not only play really well, but can play better in his system, and that permeates throughout the organization. And there's a approach that he has that's so sincere and unique. It resonates different in a locker room than other guys that I've been around. And him living in RV, that's not because he's trying to get any kind of headline or any kind of that's just Jim. And Jim he's about football and that's all he's about.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not play calling, it's culture. It's not scheme. I mean, when you look at Harbaugh's schemes, were you blown away by them?
Well, here's what I was blown away by. And I've been with Bill Parcells. I've been with Bill Belichick. I've been with great head coaches. I was lucky that way. And Jim used to say, and I've shared this with you before, we're the San Francisco 49ers. We can do whatever we want. And what that meant is that he was not going to be bound by what the rest of the league was doing. He was not going to be bound by what everybody in the media thought that we should do. That's not how it worked in that building. If you wanted to try something different that nobody had really done before, or maybe it was something new you pulled out of a college program, he was open to that. And it's very rare for someone with as much success as he's had to be so open to new ideas. And having that openness gives you a chance to grow and gives you a natural competitive advantage because it's not groupthink anymore, which permeates most of the NFL.
So, you know this well because of New England. Everybody wants a star quarterback. The problem being for the locker room, once you get one, everybody becomes much less valuable. The Chiefs are moving off great players. It's like, yeah, they win another Super Bowl. You may not have known it initially with Tom, but that's what it became. They moved off Randy Moss, and you're like, yeah, we're fine. Yeah. I mean, Kansas City is starting to feel like New England, where they've got the egos haven't permeated the building quite yet. There's not a power struggle in the building quite yet. That stuff happens generally, NBA, NFL. Now everybody's grabbing power. But when you look at them, do you see a little bit of the New England thing where it's like connected owner, personnel moves don't always hit, the quarterback and the coach, they'll overcome them? Does it feel a little New England to you with more offensive flair?
Yeah, absolutely. And even more so after Patrick got paid, because now you do have to make the tough decisions as to who you're going to keep, who you're going to move on from, and those players that deserve a big contract because they've contributed significantly to your success. You can't keep them all, but you've got the most important player who's going to make everybody else around him so much better. Makes the O-line better. He makes the running game better because there's only 7 in the box. Receivers that would be marginal on other teams can grow and develop and make plays. And I know you said it makes them less valuable, but to some degree, Colin, it makes them more valuable in the open market because other teams want to get some of that Super Bowl experience. So if you go get a guy from Kansas City, you know that you've got a guy that knows how to win. You know that you've got a guy that's played under pressure. So it does hurt you in terms of your ability to stay there, but I do think it helps you in the open market go get a bigger contract than you necessarily would have because you're from such a winning franchise.
Yeah. By the way, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, how's that going to work for you? What do you make of that?
I love that. I love that. You're spending $5 million total for Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. That's what Joe Flacco's getting, I think, is $5 million. So you get a guy, and look, we don't know where Russell's going to be, but he's performed at a high level in the past. And so if you get some semblance of that, okay, great. And then you've got whatever Justin Fields can potentially be. You get a chance to look at that. He gets to work with Russell Wilson. He gets another year to develop. You can platoon him in and play him meaningful snaps, which is a huge problem for every defense they play because you got to prepare for 2 guys. I just think you get 2 guys like that for a total of $5 million versus what other people are paying. It's huge value. And now you can take that money and go spend in other areas and try to figure out your longer term, situation if Justin Fields isn't the answer.
Eric Mangini just got back from a trip to a place I want to go in my life. He went over to Japan with his kids. It's very exciting. He told me it's amazing over there. I've tried to talk my wife into it. My son would go in a second. He loves that stuff. You want to go?
I'll join you. I know like 3 people who went to Japan this year.
He does this all the time, Eric. He just says things, doesn't consider his family. He's like, I'll go to Japan for a week. You may want to get
You got to bring everybody.
Eric, good seeing you.
Great seeing you guys.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.